If you use distress sprays, but sometimes your backgrounds don't turn out how you imagined, here are 7 things I wish I knew when I first started using them. And one of these tips involves a supply I grabbed from my kitchen that completely changed the way I work with sprays. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? If we haven't met before, my name is Tiffany Solorio, and thank you so much for being here. I love getting messy in my craft room with mixed media and card making, and distress sprays are one of my favorite ways to create backgrounds. So let's jump into these 7 tips so you can avoid some of that frustration I had when I first started using them. And stick around for that kitchen tip I mentioned earlier. The first thing I wish I knew sooner is that the paper you use can completely change how your sprays behave. Now, if you've been around here for a while or have taken any of my classes, you know how much I stress the importance of paper. When I first started using sprays, I remember thinking something was wrong with my technique because my backgrounds just didn't look the way I wanted them to. But the truth is, the paper makes a huge difference. If the paper can't handle water well, the sprays soak in too fast, the colors don't move, and you lose that beautiful blended look. Using a good mixed media paper or watercolor paper gives the sprays time to move and react. You can add water, add more sprays, dry in between, and really work the color to build depth and interest in the background with just sprays and water. Once I figured that out, my backgrounds instantly started looking better, but I still ran into another issue that took me a little while to understand and actually implement every single time I was using sprays. The next thing I wish I knew sooner is that not all distress sprays behave the same way, and there are actually a few reasons for that, so let me walk you through them. Some of them contain pigments that settle to the bottom of the bottle like oxide sprays and mica sprays, so if you don't shake them first, you might not get the look you're expecting. Giving them a quick shake helps distribute those pigments and gives you the effect you're actually trying to create. Now, just to briefly explain the differences between the sprays themselves, distress spray stains are dye-based, which means they're very transparent and great for layering color. Distress oxide sprays contain both dye and pigment, which gives them that soft oxide look, and they are very opaque. Distress mica sprays contain dye and mica powders, so you get color plus that beautiful shimmer. And distress spritz is more of a finishing spray. It doesn't contain dye, it just simply adds shimmer on top of that background. But something else I've learned over time is that each color can behave a little differently too. So if you're ever wondering why one color seems to react beautifully with water while another one doesn't behave quite the same, that's completely normal. For example, a color like Rusty Hinge might not work and move through the paper the same way that Speckled Egg does, or Antique Linen. Some colors spread more when you add water, some wick into the paper a little faster, and some just react differently when you're trying to build depth. So if a background doesn't behave exactly the way you expected, don't get frustrated. Sometimes it's just the nature of that particular color. Once I started realizing that, experimenting with sprays became a lot more fun and a lot less frustrating. And speaking of getting good results with your sprays, I actually created a distress spray color combination guide that can help you pick colors that work really well together. You can download it for free, and I'll leave the link below so you can grab it after the video. Now, once I understood how these sprays behaved, my colors started looking so much better. But I still hadn't realized something really important about working with sprays. Sometimes just adding a little bit of water can completely transform the background. But even once I understood how water worked, there was still something happening that used to drive me crazy. And this is where that kitchen item I mentioned earlier comes in. I started putting my backgrounds on a cookie cooling rack while I work with sprays. It lifts the paper off the surface so air can move underneath while you're drying it. It frees up one of your hands while using your heat tool, and it helps prevent that annoying pooling of color around the edges. It's such a simple thing, but it really made a difference for me. Once I started doing that, my drying process got so much easier. But sometimes my backgrounds still weren't looking the way I wanted them to, and that brings me to the next thing I wish I knew sooner. Letting layers dry makes a huge difference. When everything stays too wet, the colors can blend together too much and sometimes turn muddy or just look a little flat. Letting layers dry between sprays gives you more control and helps keep the colors vibrant. And here's a little side note while we're talking about layers. Sometimes I build 5 to 8 layers on a background, adding sprays, adding water, drying, and repeating that process until I get the depth I'm looking for. And I can't tell you how many times after someone takes one of my classes or watches one of my distress spray videos, they'll say something like, "Now I understand why my backgrounds weren't turning out the way I wanted. I was definitely stopping too soon." So if you're feeling like your backgrounds are missing something, you might just be stopping too early. Keep layering, drying in between, and building those colors until you get the depth and interest you're looking for. Now, something that helped me even more was changing how I thought about the whole background process. You do not have to finish a background in one sitting. Sometimes I will create a background with sprays, let it dry, and come back later to add stamping, stenciling, paste, or other details. Working in stages can actually make the process feel more relaxed, more creative, because creating should be fun, not stressful. So if you ever find yourself staring at a background and feeling stuck about what to do next, sometimes the best thing you can do is just simply walk away for a little while and come back later. I do this all the time. I'll spend one day just creating backgrounds with sprays, and then later I'll go through my background stash, pull out a few that inspire me, and start adding stamping, stenciling, or other details to turn them into finished projects. That shift in mindset made the whole creative process feel so much more enjoyable. And it also led me to another realization about our backgrounds. Not every background you create has to turn into a finished card or project. Sometimes you create a background that you absolutely love, and instead of covering it up with layers and focal points, you might just want to enjoy it exactly the way it is. You can take a photo of it, frame it, or simply appreciate it as its own piece of art. I actually do this quite a bit with my alcohol ink pieces because sometimes the background itself is the most beautiful part. So don't feel pressured to turn every background into something else. Sometimes the background is the finished piece. But one thing I personally love doing is stretching my backgrounds even further. So instead of creating one background and turning it into just one card, I like finding ways to turn it into multiple finished cards. In fact, in my upcoming class, we take one 8.5 by 11 background that we create with sprays and turn it into 6 finished cards step by step by using techniques like stamping, stenciling, embossing, and layering. So if you've enjoyed these spray tips and want to dive even deeper, you can find more information about the class in the link below. Distress sprays are such a fun way to create backgrounds, and once you understand how they actually behave, they really become so much easier to work with. I hope all of these tips help you feel more confident the next time you reach for your sprays. And if you create something, I would absolutely love to see it, so tag me on social media. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you so much. I would love to know what your favorite tip is, so leave it in the comments down below. And as always, don't forget to stay creative, my friends.